Salam alaikum, everybody. It's been a while since I've been on live. Good to see everyone. Welcome to our Instagram live for our Black Muslimahs Shining series. Salam alaikum, everyone. Salam alaikum, haram. Looking forward to our discussion tonight. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone who's in the GTA is surviving the melt. It was warm today, so all that snow we got has been melting. We have an exciting conversation. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thanks everyone for joining and taking the time to be here. I feel like at this moment in time, we're being bombarded by so much that is sensational, so much that is scary. But that's why it's so important to have these moments of community and connection, even if it's virtual and remote. It's very important, inshallah. So thank you all for taking some time to join us in our live tonight. Just going to give people a few more moments to join. Make sure I see my distinguished guests who are joining me tonight. I do see Ayan, and I think I saw Samia as well. So yes, Assalamu alaikum again, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight for our Black Muslimahs Shining series Instagram Live. For those of you who may not know, Black Muslimahs Shining is a series that has been started by CCMW for the past few years now, where during Black History Month and leading into Women's History Month, we spotlight the amazing work of Black Canadian Muslimahs. And we've been spotlighting a few you may have seen on our Instagram page. Please go and learn more if you haven't. You could also go on our website, ccmw.com, where we have the profiles of everybody we spotlighted over the years. So you could see some of the amazing work that Black Muslimahs are doing in our community. And yes, thank you again for everybody taking the time to be here. Hope everyone is doing well. I know I'm feeling so overstimulated these days by everything. The seasons, the news, everything. So I'm really grateful and honored to be able to spend some time with you all tonight, taking care of each other and learning about each other and connecting with each other. Connection is so important in these times where it's seeking to isolate all of us and disconnect all of us. So I'm really happy to be here. So Black Muslimahs Shining is an initiative, again, of Canadian Council of Muslim Women. Out of Black Muslimahs Shining, it's evolved into also a scholarship. So those of you who might be pursuing post-secondary studies, please keep an eye out and an ear out for when we release applications for our scholarships. We do have a Black Muslimahs Shining scholarship, so please encourage people to apply for that. And really, Black Muslimahs Shining is really about centering the voices of Black Muslims in our community and recognizing the important ways that they contribute to our ummah. So we have two very, very distinguished guests with us tonight that I'm excited to learn more about and share with you. The first one, I believe I saw her come in, is Ayan Absiye, who is a dedicated policy researcher and grassroots activist who is passionately committed to creating inclusive and transformative government policies. As a fourth-year student at the University of Toronto, she majors in political science with minors in African studies and history. Ayan's work is centered on ensuring that minority voices are integral to the policymaking process, engaging with both government and non-governmental organization sectors. Her research approach is very deeply community-centered, emphasizing the integration of diverse perspectives at a national and international levels. She has served in the Prime Minister's Office of Canada and for the Minister of the Women and Gender Equality. She has collaborated closely with Operation Black Vote Canada and as an 1834 Public Policy Fellow, where she conducted impactful research on housing challenges faced by Black refugees and asylum seekers in Canada. During the summer of 2022, she contributed to a successful campaign with the One campaign, securing a Canadian monetary commitment to the Global Fund aimed to end preventable diseases in Africa. Internationally, she has presented her findings on systemic discrimination, economic inequality, and access to justice at the third session of the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent in Geneva and New York, advocating for global policy reforms to enhance the rights of marginalized communities. Ayan's current research on diaspora and youth engagement in African Canadian policymaking continues to highlight her commitment to impactful evidence solutions, and as the former president of the African Studies Course Union at the University of Toronto, she's also the recipient of the Black Excellence Award at U of T for her research and activism. Ayan's primary goal is to ensure that minority voices are not only heard, but are a driving force in shaping policy at all levels. So welcome, Ayan. Ayan, oh, I lost you on my little list, so I'm going to try and find you here to add you in. So bear with me, everyone. I think I see her. I'm trying to, or if Ayan, if you're able to request. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Oh, you did already request. So Ayan, welcome. Are you joining me? Let me try this again. I'm trying to accept. Oh, there she is. Assalamu alaikum, Ayan.
Walaikum salam. Hi.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. I'm just going to introduce Samia as well, who's going to be joining us. So bear with me. I'm glad that you're here. Okay, and so our second guest for our Black Muslimahs Shining series live is Samia Hadid. And Samia is a dedicated and accomplished individual with a rich cultural heritage, hailing from Sudanese and a Chadian family. Born and raised in the small town of Kimat, Chad, Samia's early life experiences profoundly shaped her commitment to social impact. At the age of 16, she witnessed a tragic death of an infant due to malnutrition, a moment that ignited her passion for preventing such tragedies. This led her to establish the Impact Project, which I believe she'll be talking about tonight, an initiative focused on combating malnutrition and supporting vulnerable communities. Samia pursued her academic journey with a strong foundation in statistics, earning her degree from Sheikh Anta Diop. May Allah be pleased with him, great researcher and man, in the University of Senegal. Currently, she is in her final year of actuarial, excuse my pronunciation there, science at the University de Quebec in Montreal, where she continues to excel academically, mashallah. During her academic pursuits, Samia is also a multifaceted individual. She's a certified fitness coach and an avid marathon runner, demonstrating her dedication to health and wellness. Her commitment to community service has been recognized through multiple awards, including the prestigious Black Excellence Award from Islamic Relief Canada, and honoring her contributions to community involvement. Samia's journey is a testament to her resilience, leadership, and unwavering dedication to making positive impact in the world. So mashallah to both Samia and Ayan. I'm going to add Samia as well. So welcome, Samia. Let me see if I did that right. I hope I did. She is. Assalamu alaikum, Samia.
Thank you.
Sorry to have you holding so long.
No worries.
But I hope you guys were both able to hear your introduction.
Yes.
So thank you both for the amazing work that you do in community. We hope, the recognition by CCMW has expanded your reach, and, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with the work that you do. To learn more about you both. So before we get started, I just want to thank you both for taking the time to be with us tonight. And, we just want to do chicken first, we have Ramadan coming up at the end of the week, inshallah. I know life is busy. You're probably in the midst of school too. I think you probably just came off reading week. Yes? It's been a while since I've been in university, but I know it's about that time. So how have you both been maintaining and sustaining yourselves as we go into the blessed month of remembrance?
Yeah.
See you, Ayan, first, so I'll ask you first.
Okay. Sorry, I hope everyone's doing well. I'm coming off reading week and I'm really excited. I'm always excited when Ramadan's coming because I feel like it's a really good reset on intentions going into the month, and kind of like, for me, New Year's is never really January, so Ramadan, which is probably crazy to say, but yeah, I'm really excited. Most of my intentions are, I have like a long list. I don't want to just go over all of it, but I'm just like resetting with my relationship with Allah, and really recentering it in my life. I know it's like a period that while I am in school and working, it can be busy, but I have a couple intentions that I want to do, and yeah, and that's kind of what I'm doing.
Hope, hope all that you intend to do is achieved, inshallah. What about you, Samia? How are you feeling?
Alhamdulillah, I would say Assalamu alaikum everyone. I'm Samia, currently in Quebec, Montreal. So basically, we're the French Quebecer here. From my side, Alhamdulillah, with Impact Project is last year we spent more time at the masjid. So Alhamdulillah with the volunteers. But this year we're trying to go outside. So inshallah we'll be around MSAs, Bismillah, Waterloo, etc. So my Ramadan is busy by inshallah, sending awareness for Sudan. So a couple of events here and there. But personally, inshallah, biiznillah, I dedicated my time this time to understand Quran, especially Surah Yasin. I do have a relationship with Yasin. I read it anytime, when I'm stressed, when I'm happy, etc. So I decided, inshallah, there's a couple of series, I think Numan Khan did it a long time ago.
Mm,
So he explained in details what Surah Yasin every ayah. So Alhamdulillah, I put that on my list for this year.
good, good. And you mentioned, Samia, that, you're from Sudan, you do a lot of work on what's happening in Sudan. It currently is experiencing a lot of crisis and ongoing humanitarian crisis, millions of people displaced. And I know your organization Impact does a lot of work around that as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about the work you're doing with that?
Yes, Alhamdulillah. So what we're doing is actually less than what the other community of Sudanese are doing. Like, mashallah, a lot of community here in Canada, but also in London, a lot of people are doing it. What we do with Impact is we have people on the ground in Chad. So there's the borders, the refugee that go there. So we have our people inside there. They help, inshallah, to find especially food and health. But what we do here in Montreal is we try to do a lot of fundraising, a lot of sales, table sales, etc. That we collaborate with emergency room in Sudan. So there is emergency room that SSC, which is Sudanese collectivity. I think you know them or you will hear about them. We collaborate with them all the time. So inshallah, we're going to do that this year for the emergency room. So what they do is they, inshallah, bismillah, send the funds to the place that need most, which is hospital, food, etc. I think you heard about the Zamzam, what happened to Zamzam camp. So what they do, inshallah, they send the funds there to get the necessity need. Basically, right now it's crisis. So we're just focusing on hospital food, so people can survive, inshallah. Yeah.
And people who want to support, how can they get in touch with you or that
Yes,
Impact Project?
of course, inshallah. So first is the dua. Second is learn about what's happening in Sudan. Please Google what's happening in Sudan. I think ChatGPT can resume it for you too. So just Google ChatGPT will make it like resume what's happening in Sudan, and you can learn about that. But third, if how you can involve, you can contact me. I'm the one responsible for the Instagram page where you can text me and say I can help. What we do, we are 100% volunteer. So basically, let's say, inshallah, if Aya or anyone of one who volunteer, she can come in and say, I have this idea. I want to do it for Sudan or for Palestine or Gaza or Congo or any other country that she believes that need more help. We guide her as the leader and we become her volunteer. So that's how we work, inshallah, with everything that we do. So someone comes with an idea, know how to do it, need how many volunteers, I become volunteer. We have Amina, we have Zahra, we have Ayub, so we have many other peoples that are involved. We are 44 currently. So every time the person comes with an idea, we try to see how is it, and then we go all of us to help the person to fundraise. And then we transfer it 100% to the cause. Yeah.
Mashallah,
That's amazing.
that's so amazing. I would love to learn more about this because Impact is the organization you started, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
kind of like
Alhamdulillah.
you kind of walk us because I find that very inspiring that you sort of identify a need in the community. You started this organization, you've gotten support, and now you're supporting others, right? That's really beautiful, mashallah. Can you, for someone who's kind of like, maybe they have that idea, they want to do something similar, what are some like tips or some advice you could give to someone who was trying to do that?
First, I will start with checking your intention. I think as a Muslim, I always mention that because there is the fact that you want to help, and there is the first that why you want to help. So you need to understand why you want to help. I think we all know the three people that the first go to hell because they want money, fight, etc. So I think from the hadith. So if your intention is for me to be known as I'm a humanitarian and I'm a kind person, like that light on you, then sir or ma'am, that's not your way. But if your cause is really to help, and how you know that is when you start to volunteer to another organization and you're giving your 100%, although it's like you are not getting anything from it except you're spending your time. That's where you know that you really care about the cause. You start by that. Secondly is to volunteer. So let's say there's a lot of other nonprofit that did, let's say if you want to fight famine, there's another organization that did that. Start by going there to see how they work, collect the data. Sorry, I'm a scientist, so I need to put it in. So collect your data, collect your information, see how they work, what they do good, what they did bad, so you can fix it in your nonprofit. And after that, inshallah, start early. Like for me, I think the one advice I can tell myself back there, I'm 26 now, but the idea I had it since I was 16. So to me, if someone that had it, don't be afraid. Start really early. It's when you started that you learn and you practice. It's not when you start to learn more. Just learn enough from the cause, but start. There is a lot of organization that can support you. Like Alhamdulillah, I got a lot of support from Islamic relief leaders. I got a lot of support from IDRF leaders when they knew I was doing it. Some of them really take time to just talk to me on the phone. Be like, hey Samia, I saw this. You are doing this. Can you talk to volunteers like that? So Alhamdulillah, like for that, to me, I was like, if I knew, I would have started way too early because I would have learned more and more with the people. There's a lot of people who want to help. So those are the 3 tips that I can really share.
So making connections in your community, finding mentors, and like financially, was it a lot of? Did you go through to organizations for funding, or go through government organizations or foundations? Like how did you go about doing that to secure like monetary support?
Yes,
We have to be intentional, but at the end of the day, we live in a material world.
yes, it's true. I started,
Achieve our
honestly,
goals, right? So what are some of the like practical
yes.
things you did to get you started?
I think I will give a story about this. It's when I saw the situation of the child that Allah yarhamu died, the instant moment I called my family. So I called the family that are rich. Like I called my mom. I know that she, alhamdulillah. So I called my family, my elder sister. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Well, I need money for this. So alhamdulillah, with that, I knew that for me to help the cause, I need funds. So I started with my own family, but then I went on to see where can I get help. So I started with the people I know at my work, like trying to fundraise here and there with the people, but it was not enough. So what we're doing right now, alhamdulillah, is the fundraise, like the iftar, table sale, etc., but also sending emails to non-profits that are supporting. So there's a lot of, like, let's say an example, there's an organization, I'm not working with them currently, but like TD Bank, etc. They have their section of non-profits, and they look at like organization like us. So for me, as a Muslim, I need to make sure where the money comes from. So I don't just go and send them the report, and I know for sure they want to help, but I don't want to send them just because I'm making sure that the money is it coming from interest or cash money, etc. So it's very tricky, especially in Canada. But you're able to contact a lot of non-other profit. Like my school, they funds me too. Some of them give me some money because they know that as a students, we have funds to help for the non-profits. So they are like maybe not much, 300, 400, but at least there is ways. But you need a person, you need a team. You cannot do it alone. That's I can guarantee you. Alhamdulillah, I think when I started alone, I thought that it's never gonna happen. Like I would just donate and that's it. But my friends, my family, and then after people like you, honestly made it very, very easy to happen. Like subhanallah, it's been a year now that we're involved, but I can't believe all the information and all the people that we help. I think we help more than 500 family, and my goal was 100 family. So alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I can always say alhamdulillah.
Your intention says reap for the reward. I have to say something. Like, not a nomination we got from you wasn't like generic. That's a testament to the impact you have in the community, and may Allah reward you immensely for that, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Ayan, I'm going to shine a little light on you now. What an interesting time here in Canada, and if you're in Ontario as well, we're hit midst of an election. There was the pre-election day voting happening this weekend. We potentially have a federal election also on the horizon, and you're very heavily involved in, politics and policy making. So, what are some of the political points? What are some of the issues you think Black Muslim women should be paying attention to?
Yeah, so like there's a couple, but I feel like if I'm looking here, I wrote a little notes. But I think as Black Muslim women, because we have so many different identities, it's not just one thing we can pinpoint and say that there's an issue, because I feel like they all kind of conflate and work together. But I think with my experience like working in politics for like the last couple years, I know that representation, while it is good, it's not enough. It can't really do a lot if there's no like meaningful action and support behind that. Like we can have diversity, but if there's no meaningful like inclusion with that, I don't really see that being a big thing for our community. And if there's no commitment as well to tackling systemic change, and there's not institutional support, then I don't also think it's equity as well. So while it's important, I think there should be meaningful action. So we do have a provincial election, and I do think there's a federal election also coming. I feel like we need to pay close attention to the policies that the candidates have made, and the parties that have made. I feel like while it's important to look at promises that they made, they had a couple like the last couple of years to show their commitment, and I feel like that's a really important thing to like check their record. What have they done for our communities? What actions or what have they spoken about publicly? Because it's important to see what they say, but it's important to see the action that they've done. And I feel like as we are going to the polls and voting, we also have to check what they've done and do that research as well. And ask a couple questions. What have they done to advocate for real systemic change? Who's committed to anti-Black racism, Islamophobia, to gender discrimination, but in tangible and measurable ways? What have they done? What have they said? And I think while we do see symbolic gestures, I think it's important to see action as well. And while as a Black Muslim community, but a Muslim community at large as well, we're not a small number. We're a big proportion of Canada, and it's not enough to say that you've engaged once or twice. Like we're a really big bloc, and we can make or break an election. And I think it's important to see that commitment over. You can just check back in the last year or two, what have they done? And I think it's important because a lot of people looked at their different interest groups when they go campaigning. And I work with Operation Black Vote, so I've learned a lot through that, like how they engage with the Black group in different like settings and different religious groups. And I think it's important for us to go out there, but also when they do come and like knock on our doors and ask things, that we have these questions ready, and they have to have some answers for us. So while we should do our research before going to the polls, I think they should also have answers that they answer to us, and then we analyze like whether is that important for us, and kind of look to the issues that we hold close to our heart, and see what they've done. And if it's not being much, then we strategically vote that way. So I guess that's kind of what I have.
Raised some really interesting points, if you don't mind me doing a little bit of follow-up, because I think you raised an interesting point around representation isn't enough, right? I think that's something we've been recognizing a lot more, that, identity politics is not going to liberate us. And we need to start unpacking that. And I'm just interested in knowing a little bit more about your experience being in the political sphere as a Black Muslim woman in this space, where there probably is a lot of pressure to, code switch, to conform a little bit. And almost like this give and take relationship when you're in politics, you're compromise a little bit to achieve. And it's like, I think we're getting to a point where we don't have time for that. We really do not have time for that. It's time for us to take the power that has been denied us
Yeah.
instead of like always abiding by
Yeah.
rule. Like if you're getting into these spaces just to uphold the status quo, like
Then it's not really
that's
representation.
not that's the
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just really interested in terms of kind of like what have you been gauging in these spaces around
Yeah.
just your experience, if you kind of understand where
Yeah,
I'm what
yeah.
yeah.
I think starting out, so I started when I was 19, 20, and I was nervous. I was like, what am I doing in this space? Am I allowed to exist fully? Because I've always been someone, I'm introverted, but when I hear issues that are important to me and like my community, I just speak. I was always the person in class where I'm just like, no, that's not right. So like, and when it comes to that, and in the beginning it was scary because the institutions are not made for us, and like there is like a fear where you go in that when you speak your full truth, are they gonna accept it? Are they gonna like go like something bad happened to you? Are you gonna get demoted, etc.? And I think those were the worries I had in the beginning. But I think now, as it's been a couple years, I think you're there for a reason. Well, number one, because you have that perspective and you're there to represent your community. One, but I do think it's not enough just to say that these are the things that are important to my community, like what in whatever role you're in. But what are they doing? Like you can tell when an issue is being taken serious, and you can tell when they're not. And I've kind of existing in that space in the early on. I'm like, what's happening? We know Islamophobia exists. We know like these issues for our community exist, but like what's really happening? And I there can be at times where people like code switch or where they say to be a little more palatable so that your core message could get through. But I don't think that's ever worked for me. I've always just like said what came straight to my mind. And I think that's something my parents taught me growing up, to not really filter myself, because there's no use in making yourself palatable. And I know like professionalism and these things exist, but I don't think we can be professional when we're talking about such important issues such as Islamophobia, such as many different issues that affect our community. So I think if someone's listening and they want to do work in politics, but like advocate to their MPs, or just talk about the campaigns that are coming up, or the elections that are coming up, just speak genuinely from your heart. Speak about the issues that matter to you, and you can tell when someone's really listening and engaging with you. You can tell when they're not just listening to you for your vote. I know, like in the beginning, I did not know. Like some people would just, I'd be talking to them, and their like mind is like in a different place, and I'm like, you're not taking me seriously. You're not listening to the issues that I'm saying. But I do think now that there are MPs who are going to be coming knocking on your door. There's groups who are going to ask for your vote. What are you going to do? I do think it's important to just say truthfully and with integrity the things that you care for in your community, and ask them what they think about it and what they're going to do. I think you should ask for a commitment. And then and do your research, and then go from there. But for me, early on, I was scared. I'm like, what am I doing here? But I think as I grew older and like keeping the lessons, like my mom and my father said, to just be yourself, talk about the things that matter to you. Because at the end of the day, the only person who could judge you is Allah. The only thing you have to do is like keep the akhirah in mind. So I feel like there's no use in like code switching and making yourself less than for your voice, or making the issues that you care about more palatable for them to like digest. I think just speaking your truth, and it's 2025. It gets to a point where it's like I can tell you these issues matter, but if you're not gonna take it seriously, then and if you don't know the history behind it and all these things, we have so many. There's like technology. There's so many things that are there, so you can't just deny it. So that as well.
I mean, may Allah make it easy for you. Always keep your voice strong, even if it's the only one.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
Tammy, you know what? I want to come back to, because I actually saw a lot of parallels from what Ayan is bringing up in terms of the humanitarian sector, in terms of, prioritizing, right? I think politics, and I think one of the tragedies, I think, of living in racism and capitalism is that the sense of competition on everything. right? Whether it's politics or humanitarian issues. So instead of making connections, the issue is about prioritizing, right? Because capitalism also always wants to work in constant different hierarchy, right? And we're trying to sort of push against that. We're trying not to hierarchize and not prioritize. We're trying to
Yeah.
connect our issues, right? Um, so I'm just interested, Samia, working, trying to center, what's happening in Sudan, making those connections. How is that? How does that come across in your work? If you have anything to share, I know I didn't really prepare that question for you, but.
Yes. Just to remember to repair the question in my head is you wanted to know the connection between what's happening in Sudan and how we can connect it to the politic, or how
No,
it's connected
just
to the
the
politic.
parallel I was seeing is that when election time comes around, it's like we're talking about priorities, right?
Yeah.
What the issues we want to prioritize instead of what are the issues we want to connect, right? Because until we start seeing that our liberation is all connected, we're going to constantly be fighting these sort of like oppression Olympics or these sort of like issue Olympics. So which issue is more important? Whereas all issues are important when it's
Yes.
connected to liberation, right? And I kind of wanted to bring that parallel into when you're doing humanitarian work. So like a lot of people aren't talking about Sudan. This is reality. They want to talk about Ukraine. They even, I mean, Palestine, alhamdulillah, is getting a lot more attention. But, we often see that anti-blackness come out when we talk about humanitarian crises, right? Um, and so I just wanted, if you can, speak to a little bit how we can sort of shatter that a little bit and start making the connections
Okay.
um, that that you
Yeah.
know if
No,
that
yes.
if that makes sense.
No.
If
Yeah.
you
No.
need more
It's perfect.
clarification, I could go on, but hopefully I got there.
Now it's perfectly clear. I just want to say something before, like I think as a response of the question too, is that we want it or not, we still live into the Black Lives Matter
Mhm.
issue. We have to always speak about it. Even in Quebec, it's getting worse and worse. So before, I'm just gonna give an example. Before, in Quebec at least, I don't get the sentence of go back to your country, but now I'm getting that. So just those kind of things is being more and more, and we need to speak about it. So with that being said, we can see the mindset of people shifting to the bad, like going worse and worse into about Black life. But at the same time, I can also say that there is people who, when they started to doubt themselves, they started questions. Like I had yesterday a conversation with Palestinian group. It's about what's happening in Sudan and what's happening in Congo and what's happening in Haiti. And a lot of them start to ask themselves, it's like, are we hypocrite because we're supporting Palestine? Do we know nothing about the other world, the other side? And I'm like, you need to ask yourself a lot of questions. Start by that. So you need to start, if someone who's supporting Palestine, and inshallah, alhamdulillah, is getting slowly but surely liberated, you need to ask yourself, why are you supporting Palestine? Is just because it's a trend, or because they're Arab and you're Arab, or because it's a humanitarian cause, something, they're human. If you see us as a human, I'm sure if you see Palestine as a human, you can also see Sudan and Congo and etc. Although now we're focusing on Sudan because we're a small team, but also we have people who are talking about Congo, we have people who are trying to do their best to see how they can help Haiti. So those are little things that we do. So it start by, I can say if you want to connect, it is start by asking yourself, I know it's a hard question, but am I a hypocrite? Am I a racist? Because I'm not seeing this word, but I'm seeing that word. I'm not voting for this when I see the letter coming out, but I'm voting for that. And when you start to question yourself, then start to ask, like, see your surrounding, ask your people around, join your people. Can we go also vote and shout like Ayan? She just spoke about how politics want our vote. They want it or not, they want our vote, even if they see us as a black people. So when we go through as a community, when we go, it's like, okay, I want to make a change, not just for Palestine. I want to change for the humanitarian. I want to change for the human being. How can I help? You take your people, I mean, inshallah, bismillah, all your community together. You go see your parliament, you go see anyone that is in politics and how to vote. I would just give an example. I don't know if the community of Sudan is watching. We're fighting so bad in Quebec to get Sudanese here, like the Canadian Sudanese, our family also. It's so hard. I did not know that it was so hard for us just to send a letter not just like get them in, just to send a letter to the government so we can have a court that vote for us to bring our people here. It was very hard, and the reason what Quebec said is not important. Like literally, they just say like it's not important. So if we, when I mean we, all of us, go say, I'm an activist, but I also believe my voice is not just in the street, my voice is not just in my letter, my voice is also to vote, to go there and be like, I want to make a change in Quebec. I want this letter to pass. How can I help? Do you want me, like, let's say, Ayan, you have more experience about it, but do you want me to go to the office itself? Do you want me to go again and sign letters, more letters that are needed, or go to the parliament and like shout out? All of those things count when you start to ask yourself, well, you start to ask your questions like, how can I help human and not how can I help only Palestine and only this and only that? And honestly, it's a job, especially as a humanitarian also, is a job that I always ask my nafs, like I really question my intention because I see climate change and I'm like, what am I taking? Like, let's say my cup. So I started to even question that. I'm like, okay, this I know that is helpful. What I'm drinking before it was not helpful. Like, I need to make sure those little things align with my goals that I'm trying to help human. And climate change is one of the things too. So all of that included, I'm sorry that I'm speaking maybe much, but to me, all of that is so, so, so important for you to help others. It starts by you, start by your intention, start about how to put your community together to vote and how to go through this together and not alone and not this is your problem, not my problem sentence. Yeah.
I know that makes a lot of sense, and I think you got exactly where I kind of wanted to go, because I was curious as to what the response has been. Like, there's certain issues that funders may not want to get behind, or when you're trying to lobby money from the government, or like you're saying, to bring families over, there's sort of like a hesitation there because Sudan's not considered a priority. And yeah, I'm just really grateful for the work you're doing, mobilizing community to change that. So thank you. So I had some other questions. We kind of went off on a little bit of a break, but that was great. I wanted to learn from each of you, just as a teaching moment, and I guess we've kind of been speaking to this a little bit, but what is a specific sort of challenging moment that you have experienced? Because I feel like a lot of us in such hot, like you're saying, the rise of the right is a very real thing. There's the right, people are getting very comfortable with their bigotry, right? I know from experience speaking with my friends that there is, while there's an impatience now for complacency, nobody wants to be complacent. There is a very real fear of repercussions, right? So what have been some challenging moments in your work so far, and how did you sort of overcome it? If Ayan, you want to speak first.
Yeah, I think I spoke to it a little bit, but I was definitely like finding my voice, because like I kind of like I first started out working with I still do work with the community organizations in Toronto, but when that kind of led me to speaking with members in parliament, like asking them questions, it kind of led me into politics. It was really hard to like figure out what my voice is. Everybody was saying you have to go in there with a strategic document, like a briefing note, and ask some questions. And I never, while it is important, I kind of would just go in there and just ask the questions that I had in mind, and the community had in mind. But it was just, I guess for me, it was like being taken seriously because I'm a university student. And while I am a university student, they kind of always just saw me as like a 20-year-old, like very young. She didn't start her career. Like a lot of people in politics are like older, like 20, like in their late 20s and like 30s. And they like, and I guess people in our society think that's like when you're fully assured of your voice and who you are and what you think. And like when you look to someone who's like in your 20s, mashallah, there's so many like youth who are advocating for things in their community. And like, and if you compare that to like those who are, I guess, further in their career and where they are, I feel like to me that it's the same. So I feel like not being taken seriously was something that I battled a lot, because in my community, I guess in the silo, I think we all kind of exist in silos in the communities you're in. Everybody would take me seriously in the masjid, like in my family, in my house, like my parents would reassure me, I'll speak to my friends. So like that, and in the university I feel reassured. But when I was speaking, working in politics, I was like, this person's not giving me eye contact. Like I just didn't feel like I was valued in it in the beginning. But I feel like because I guess it's not 3 years into it. Like I feel like I try to command respect and like I'm there and you're gonna hear me, and if you're not gonna hear me, then I guess we don't need to be speaking. Maybe there's no solution there. But but also like we were talking about earlier about the understanding the prioritizations. I didn't know that in the beginning. I just thought, like you were saying, like we're all humans, we all care about the issues that are going on. And this is like before I started studying like African studies and poli-sci in the beginning, so I didn't know about everything that I do now. But I I thought the issues in Ukraine in the beginning were exactly comparable to what's happening in Congo, what's happening in Haiti and Palestine, and like all this, because at the end of the day, people are dying. While the factors might change, I feel like the underlying thing that is there is imperialism, it's colonialism. Is like you're talking about climate change. A lot of the things we use, like for example, technology, it comes out of the DRC, but no one really knows that because it's not being advertised in like these companies that go and do this, right? So I guess in the beginning I didn't really know that, but I feel like because I've been spending time reading and learning, I've come to like, I guess my voice came through that and understanding how it works. While I don't agree with the prioritization, I see that it does exist. But I think it's important for our communities to say to draw like the connections and parallels to what are happening because they're always there. And yeah, I kind of went on a tangent, but I
That was
guess
great.
like I guess just like drawing the connections are really important because once we draw them, then they're not deniable because people are going to be like, oh, historically this happened. Because I think, as you said, like as there's a far right movement, and I guess not a lot of people are taking the time to understand things, or everyone's saying this is misinformation, this is not true, and ChatGPT or AI, these things are not true. But I feel like at the end of the day, history is history, and if you do the information and you look at, take your time and engage with the sources, you know. For example, what's happening in Palestine didn't just happen in the past 2 years. It's been a long, long history. So yeah, I guess like understanding that and ensuring that people look at the whole thing rather than the pieces is something. And just for me, just learning more has been kind of a way I found my confidence and I guess my voice in that way, and not feeling not feeling that I'm like delusional, I guess, because it's hard to understand. Because in my sense, it makes sense. Like in my head, like
Absolutely.
what, like for example, in Toronto, we had the African refugee crisis, right? And for a month, there's one pregnant women who are sitting on the street. There are men and women who are still in encampments in the street in Toronto who occupy a large proportion of it. But when we compare that to other situations, other countries in the global north, where this seems like war and conflict is unnatural, there's more effort to help. And I feel like once I understood how people think like that, then we're able to kind of draw the connections, even though I feel like they should already know the connections, but yeah.
Absolutely. You raised so many gems and made so many connections there. Thank you so much, Ayan. Um, and Samia, coming back to you, if there's what's like a challenging moment, not even necessarily challenging, what's one of the biggest lessons that you could share with whoever's tuning in today and doing the work you do, because it's not always easy, but you got to keep going. So what's something that has been challenging or pushed you a little bit harder, and how did you overcome it? What were some of the tools you used?
Yeah, I'm just gonna echo a bit of what Ayan also said, and it reminded me the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, is that it says when you see something bad or you see something that is, let's say, unfair, first is you need to change it. Like if you can change it with your hand, you go for it. Secondly, if you can, it's by your voice, and thirdly, it's dua, which is the weakest one. That shows perfectly the Prophet ﷺ did not talk about if it's Muslim, if it's Jewish, if it's this or that, or white or black. He literally just said if you see injustice. So to me, that's a perfect sentence can resume the connection of what we were just talking about. And for the challenge that I face, and I'm still actually facing, and maybe many people will see it weirdly or not aware of, is actually as we're talking as a Muslim. there is a lot of Muslims that are not taking, I can say, the responsibility of being a Muslim, in a sense of they are not aware of other brother and other sisters issue. And when I come, I think we had that conversation in Ramadan, last Ramadan, is when I speak, the younger, like the younger generation, they are aware, they're awake, they listen, they speak. But a bit of, let's say, go upper in age, there's an issue of this is your problem, not my problem. I'm an immigrant, I don't want to get into politics. No, 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 I barely want to survive, I want to feed my kids. To me, that alone was a huge challenge. So for me to go fight outside, I need to understand what's happening in my household, which is like the Muslim, the community. Because Alhamdulillah, I used to volunteer a lot in the mosque. And I realized that, like, I tried to ignore it, but it's there. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Is that, let's say, I will give an example. If something happened in Tunisia, the Pakistani community said it's not my problem. It's like Tunisia problem. Like, I think something happened in Libya also, earthquake or stuff like that, waterfall. All of that made me realize that even the Ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, we need to sit and talk. We need to know, hey, we need to do something. It's not about he, she, them. It's us. It's all of us. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. His one hand is pain, the other body is pain. So that was the huge challenge we had actually with Impact and with the other also association. But with that, it came also, alhamdulillah, a lot of other young people that showed up and be like, hey, I will speak to my mom. Hey, I will speak to my dad. Hey, you know what? I think NCCM, I don't know if you guys know them, but they come to a lot of mosques and they speak about Islamophobia, they speak about politics, how we can get involved. And from that, honestly, there was a bit of shift. There was a bit of awareness. It's like, oh, I can let my kid be the prime minister. I can, there is this like, oh my God, Muslim can do and Muslim can be, not just the comfort zone of, Alhamdulillah, I'm in Canada, I'm good. No, there is like, I can do better, I can grow, I can let my child go out there and speak about injustice. And I think Ayan family did that right now with putting her on the floor. So for me, from the challenge of understanding that the Muslim community need to be aware and need to stop being afraid and know their rights and duties as a Muslim, but also as a citizen, and stopping thinking that you're the child of an immigrant, you're a Canadian citizen and you have right in this country and you have the vote, you can change things that happen in your country, which is Canada. To and that shifted me to a lot of awareness. So from that, we said, okay, we need to work on the awareness side. We need to talk to the community, not just the non-Muslim, but the Muslim and their rights and their duty and how to do it. So alhamdulillah, from a challenge to how to fix it, it now is growing, alhamdulillah, to other associations too. I think NCCM is doing a great job on this Islamophobia. I think with other organizations, myself, like Impact Project, IDRF, Islamic Relief, all the non-profits, there's people who comes in and speak about a cause and they send many people in different colors to speak about it, not just one for one community, let's say. Yeah.
Mashallah, mashallah. No, thank you so much for that. And that's really even what this Instagram Live is about, right? It's about one, of course, recognizing the important work you guys are both doing, we're both doing, mashallah, but also making those connections, cultivating that community, sharing that information, and inshallah, it inspires and motivates others to also take up the mantle, right? So thank you again both for being here with us tonight. Inshallah, just on a last little note, can you drop your social media handles? What's the best way to connect with you? If someone wants to, your word really resonated with someone and they want to contact you directly, how can they do that? If you could drop that information, and we will have it up on the website as well.
Perfect, inshallah. Ayan, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Mine is just my name, Ayan Absiye. I could put it in the chat. And that's most of my social media is just my name, so you'll be able to find me there. And if you're trying to email me, it's ayan.absiye1@gmail.com. So
Diane, you're located where in the country?
in
Are you
Toronto.
in GTA? You're in GTA.
Yeah.
And Samia, you are in Quebec, right?
Je suis à Montréal. Yes, I'm in Montreal, Quebec. You can reach out. I'll be in Toronto, Waterloo very soon. So people, if they're listening to Waterloo, I'll be there. they can contact an impact project. That's the only website, the way to contact me. And inshallah, even if they just want to speak about Sudan and how they want help for that, we are here. We just want to send awareness about what's happening in Sudan. So you can reach out to us, inshallah, and let us know how you can help.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Again,
Yeah.
thank you both for joining and sharing with all of us tonight in the CCMW community. Thank you to everybody who has joined and listened in on our live. Actually, let me touch base with everybody who's listening. I don't want to exclude y'all. So if anybody who's listening has any questions for Samia or Ayan, please feel free to pop it in the chat. I'll give you guys a couple minutes. Otherwise, please look out for our Black Muslimahs Shining in-person event. It was supposed to occur last weekend, but Mother Nature was not on our side. And you know what? Winter is for retreat. I firmly believe that. So inshallah, we'll be back in April when the sun is shining a little bit longer in the days. We have, come out of the beautiful months. Inshallah, we'll be feeling rejuvenated and reset and ready to connect with each other. So please be on the lookout for that. I believe we have saved the date for April 12th, but it will be posted on our social media when we're ready, and invites will go out. So inshallah, I hope you both will be able to attend, and I could give you guys some love, inshallah, in person. And until then, it doesn't look like we have any comments, so I will let you guys both go now. Enjoy the rest of your night, inshallah, and when the beloved month reaches us, may Allah hear your prayers, hear your intention, and accept all of them, inshallah. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Okay, now I don't know how to turn off the live, guys. But anybody who's still here, I actually don't know how to do this. I'm just